All right. Well, welcome to Homemaker University, our second lesson. And I know some of you just barely got the video for last week. And last week we had some assignments. And the assignments for last week were to create a morning and an evening routine and also to make a priority list. And so were any of you guys able to do that? I know a couple of you just got the video, so it's okay if you didn't. You want to share what you have, what went with you, what happened with you, Becca?
Okay, yeah. So I made my list of priorities, and then
Nice.
I decided what was essential, what was necessary, and what was just nice to do. And then I made my morning routine and my evening routine, and I tried to keep it simple so I didn't get overwhelmed.
Good, good.
So I only have 4 things for my morning routine and 3 things for my evening routine.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and it's been really good just to, I feel like, especially my morning routine, it's really helped me to get set up for the day and to be motivated to continue to be productive. So,
Right, right. That is one of the hard things. I was talking to my husband about it last night, is when you don't have time constraints, when you just answer to yourself, it's really hard to make yourself answer to yourself. I know it is for me.
yeah, me too.
So do you feel like it was helpful to you, or how, I guess you said the morning routines especially been helpful. How was the prioritizing exercise?
It was good. It helped me to see like some things that maybe I could let go of.
Mm.
And it helped me to see like what I should be making sure to get done first thing in the morning. So
Oh, good. I'm so glad it helped you. So Whitney and Amanda, were either of you able to watch the video yet from last week?
I wasn't. I was hoping that you could resend it to me because I don't think it made it to my email.
Okay, I will do that. Her name says Elizabeth. That's my daughter-in-law. Her name's actually Amanda.
Yeah. It was when I was obsessed with Elizabeth Bennet.
Jane Austen and all that.
I was silly and young, and now I don't know how to turn it back.
Well, I'm silly and old, so you know, I still love that stuff. So Whitney, were you able to watch it yet? Hopefully we didn't lose Whitney. Anyway, it's okay if you didn't. That's okay. But I was glad to hear your experiences, Becca, and to know that it was helpful to you. I know I have to adjust my routines every few months or so, or if circumstances change or anything else like that. So that's normal. Can't hear you yet. We will, and I'm sure we will. Aha, it says you're connected to, try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Okay, sorry. It said I had to go to settings and turn on my microphone. Anyway,
No,
I did watch it this morning, and then I started to make my priorities list. So I haven't finished it yet, but it was really good information. I'm excited to get going on it. So.
Oh, great. I'm so glad. So glad that was helpful to you. Okay, awesome. So you guys are going to get a new assignment today. I think today's assignments are a little less involved. It's not that the others were super hard or anything, but I think this one will take less time. But today we are going to talk about managing our days and weeks. So it's kind of an extension. And I know it might seem strange with the homemaking course to talk about time management, but I feel like it's something that as homemakers, if you don't have that in order, it's really hard to get anything else in order, because if you don't have your time figured out, then when do you do the other things that are all on your list? And so I really feel like those things are foundational to homemaking. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. And we have some little slides again. All right. Here's our class for today. And we are going to discuss managing days and weeks for lesson number 2. First of all, I want to just share this. There's a few pictures here I'm going to share with you. There's a really cool file that you can find online that the government in the 1930s went into several homes across the United States and took several pictures of what home life was like in the 1930s. And I think they're fascinating. Anybody that knows me well knows that I love old-fashioned things, and but we will talk a little bit about how things are different in this day and age. But I do think that it's fascinating to see, we see this old stove, which was old for the 1930s. I think they had a few newer appliances, but you can tell this lady just is using what she has. I love the messy little guy in the corner. I have children that look like that throughout the day. I notice that she's kind of dressed and in a uniform. She's kind of in her mom clothes. And that's kind of fun. But, you know, you think about it and look at this picture, and she couldn't just turn on a stove. She had to put logs in it and get it going, get the fire going. And, you know, anyway, just thinking about how different life was. In the past, homemakers would have to work hard all day just so they could eat at the end of the day. And that's something that has really struck me and stayed with me over the years, especially if you read anything about history or historical fiction even, to see how much people would have to work and how different it is. We have so many more conveniences and things are just easy for us. It doesn't mean that one is better than another or less important than another, but it's just different. Life was tied to the seasons. They didn't really have time to waste. Crops had to be planted, they had to be cared for, they had to be harvested, and they had to be sold and preserved. Households ran on the timing of what was going on outside. And so in the past, men and the sons would go out and they would work outside and they would grow the food for the family, whether it was food that the family would eat and or food that they would sell, or, you know, cattle or whatever it was, but it was an agricultural based society. And generally the women and the daughters would be at home doing hard work at home as well, but they were just doing different work. A lot of times women's work was just to get everybody fed so they could go out and work the next day. So it was very different. We are blessed in this day and age that we don't have to exert ourselves so much physically, but we have different challenges. See, this woman here is shelling peas. So they must have had some kind of pea crop. This picture is really fascinating to me. So this is still in the 1930s, as you can tell from her style of clothing, but you can tell she is from an earlier time. And I love that her kitchen is not perfect. It's just pretty normal. And for her time, again, there's the wood stove. And it just kind of puts things in perspective for me. Okay. Have any of you ever seen dish towels like this? Now, this is not the best photo, especially blown up, but I inherited these from my mother, and quite a number, probably 10 years or more ago, I took a picture of them. I mean, I love them and they're really cute, and you know, they really speak of a bygone era. But something that I think is interesting is that women used to have days of the week when they would do certain things. So because they were busy too, and they had things to do, but they needed to get certain amount of things done, and they would do them kind of one day a week. So they would have an ironing day. We're so blessed to not have to iron very much. I do not love ironing. And, you know, I really have a hard time caring about ironing personally, but they didn't have a lot of the fabrics that we do. And so they would have an ironing day, or they would have a baking day. You know, maybe if they had to make their own bread, which they did, you know, they would make the bread for the week. In fact, when I was growing up, I have an aunt that makes amazing bread, and she had a day of the week that it was bread day, and I would usually try and ride home with my cousin on the bus that day so that I could go have some of my aunt's bread because it was so great. I knew it was bread day and their house would smell like bread and all that. So we may no longer need a baking day or an ironing day, but we can look at the things that we have in our lives to do, and we can assign them a day for us to accomplish those tasks. Now, there are some reasons why this is helpful. To me, I feel like it simplifies my life because I have a day when I know XYZ is going to be done. Say it's a deep cleaning day, just for an example. So I don't feel guilt or pressure to vacuum the baseboards every day. I know it's going to get done. You know, if you have it scheduled, you know it's going to get done. And I can say Friday's the day or whatever day I'm going to be doing that. So I want to explore this idea a little bit of what our foremothers knew and what they used as far as scheduling things on certain days. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we'll get to the assignment a little later. But think of some possible examples you could do. I know one day would be good maybe to run errands. Does anybody like going to the grocery store every night at 6-ish, 5 o'clock? Oh my word, no. I don't ever like to. It's crazy at that time. Everybody's hungry, everybody's hangry and cranky, and it's stressful. And can you imagine, you know, you're taking a cart full of kids, trying to fill it with food. Now we do have some great conveniences, like we can just do pickup, you know, we can just do the grocery pickup, or they even deliver it. We live in a beautiful time for that. So that's something. Or maybe there's some shopping you do need to do. You could say, you know, Tuesday is my Target day or my errand day or whatever. Another day idea is you could do, I'm going to do my finances on a certain day. And that's when you sit down with your significant other and you go through your budget. So just think of this. This is all customized for you and what you might need in your life. So let's see, I guess I do need to share my screen again because I have kind of a little handout and I sent it via email. Let me know if you didn't get it, but I need to get out of this and over here. Okay, if it'll load, there we go. So you can take this sheet, and again, let me know if you didn't get it and I'll send it in your email, but just write down different things that you do on each day. So Sunday, you might have, you go to church, or what time you go to church. You might have certain meetings or whatever. You might have a family dinner that you go to, or some other special thing that you're doing on a Sunday. You just write down each of these spaces is for something different. Monday, maybe so-and-so has to go to dance on Monday. Maybe you always try to schedule your doctor's appointments on Tuesday or some other thing like that. So this is just an example. And so you can just fill out this chart and think through. Now, maybe so far you've just done things randomly, but what if now working moms, they have a lot of outside things that they have to do at certain times. And so it is a little bit different, but I know, having been both now, it was helpful for me to better organize my weeks, as we talked about before, because I didn't have things to answer to so often, that I liked being more in control. So I might say, I will only schedule doctor's appointments for this day, or I will only go shopping on this day. I know it doesn't work that way if you have to answer to a work schedule. So just keep that in mind. But I have some ideas here at the bottom of different days you could do. You could maybe do an errand day or a shopping day. Maybe you have a day that's deep cleaning. Maybe you have a day when you just focus on washing towels and sheets in your laundry. We are going to have a lesson on laundry systems later in the course, but just be thinking of that kind of thing. Maybe you have a day that you say our Saturdays are just for our family. That's what we're going to do. And say you go on hikes on the day, or you go to the zoo, or you have that day that you schedule. Again, Sunday is a great day for going to church, and a lot of people go to church on Sundays. Maybe you might have youth activities in your family, and so you try and schedule certain things on those days. Maybe you have a day if you're going to school or something. Like I go to school. Every day is personal study day, you could say. But usually for me, most of my homework is due on Saturdays, Saturday nights. And so I try and keep my Saturdays, at least in the afternoon, a time block off for me to do homework. Maybe you are really into volunteering, or maybe you like doing some bulk cooking. I know I have a cousin that really got into that for a while, and she would do the monthly cooking thing to save time. And so there's a lot of different ideas you can use. So just, you can use this list, you can use none of them or all of them or whatever. Well, you don't have that many days in a week, but whatever you want to do. So here's an example. I just thought I'd share what my world looked like about 10 years ago. I used to be heavily into blogging, and I did that for 10 years. And in the midst of all of that, I recorded for a blog post one time what my weeks looked like. So on Mondays at this time, I would have a weekend recovery day. I found that Sundays, for some reason, my house always got trashed. I don't know if you have the same issue, but it seemed like Sundays, because we were all kind of resting and just trying to just take that day of rest and recover from the rest of the week, that everything went just crazy at our house. There were shoes everywhere or whatever, and or popcorn because we'd eaten while watching a movie or something. So on Monday, I always had a weekend recovery day where the kids and I would clean the house up and just kind of take the time to tidy it. I would try and take the time to gather their Sunday clothes that they wore to church and wash them, and then hang them up so that they were ready to go for the next week. I would gather up the church shoes, which were different than their regular shoes. And because I have such a large family, this was a big chore. And if I knew that I didn't have their shoes in the right place, that there would be trouble Sunday morning. If you have a few kids, Sunday morning is when everybody loses their shoes and they have no idea where they are. And times how many kids I have. It was crazy. So I tried to do that. Tuesdays I had as a personal study day. At the time, we were heavily involved. In fact, it was in our home, in a homeschool co-op. And so we would have several families that joined us, and we would have classes. And I was teaching a Shakespeare class at the time. So Tuesdays were my day to prepare for that next day's class. And also my older children. So it was just a co-op for older kids that was for teenage classes. And my older kids, I would give them that time on the computer on Tuesdays for them to finish up their assignments that we're going to be due the next day. Okay, Wednesdays, I did a super cleaning day because, I guess it was 2 days before our co-op, but I would clean the house really good because I knew that we were going to have the classes the next day. So that was when I did my deep cleaning. I wanted to make sure the floors were mopped, that the bathrooms were not gross, because they were going to get used by a lot of people the next day. Then on Thursdays was our homeschool co-op day. And so because I knew it was going to be a busy day, I also scheduled my daughter's dance lessons for that day. I found a studio where that was the day she had dance lessons. So I knew I'd get up in the morning. We would have these classes. They would last through the afternoon. We would have a science class in the living room while a history class was going on in the kitchen. And so kids were playing in the backyard, the younger kids, and there would be a mom doing activities with them. And then once that was done and everybody went home, then we had, the afternoon was when we did our Shakespeare class. But then my daughter, everybody would leave and my daughter would go to her dance class. So that was our kind of learning day for us. On Fridays, because of the busyness of that Thursday, I had kind of a low-key day. And so that was when I would do art projects with my kids. And we would do a lot of reading aloud, and I wouldn't do running that day because I was so tired of running. Then Saturdays, I planned to do my running. I would go grocery shopping early in the morning so that I kind of beat the crowds. Friday nights, I would usually plan my menu. And so that when I went to the store Saturday morning, I knew what I was shopping for. And then again, Sunday was our day of rest and worship. So some reasons while you're getting your juices, creative juices, thinking about what you could do each day and what you could schedule, just to think about why the benefits of this. It gives your week some structure, but it gives you the freedom to plan what you need for your family. It gives you the opportunity to maybe plan a down day or plan a family day, relaxation day, or maybe a project day. Maybe you have an Etsy store, or maybe you have some other side things you're trying to do. If you have your own business, maybe that you could schedule a day when you really focus on that, or planning for that. We can see when we plan our weeks like this where our time is going. And that can be a powerful thing. It, like I said earlier, it helped me because then I could also give myself some grace. And I could say, I'm not going to worry about this today because my day to do that and worry about that is in 2 days or tomorrow. And so I can just not worry about it today. And I will, but I know it's going to be addressed and I'm not just putting it off forever. This kind of scheduling can actually really help us. And when we look at what those before us did, we can see that the same principle, though their lifestyle was very different, we can still use those principles and apply them to our lives and make them work for us with our modern times and what we're doing. Hi. I know that little girl. She was a fairy once. Okay. So does anyone have any questions or comments about this kind of thing, planning your week? Concerns? Okay. All right. So because we're going to leave that for a minute and we are going to talk about daily planning. Okay. So if you are anything like me and you want to you have this dream about the perfect day and you will wake up at the right time and you will do everything in order. And at 9 o'clock, you will do this. And at 9:15, you will do that. And at 9:30, your child will do this. And at 10 o'clock, you will do that. And you think, oh, I can just schedule my day. And then you try that a few days and it doesn't work and you crash and burn and you get upset and you think I'm the problem. Has anybody ever felt like that? I have done that way too many times because I think I'm going to just schedule every moment. But the problem is that life happens, right? Kids, this is a language they do not understand. Going potty, happens anytime. And kids are interruptions. They are the cutest, greatest interruptions ever, but the clock doesn't speak to them. And then, or for me, my biggest problem was me. So I would look at this schedule and I'd go, I don't want to do that at 9:15. And then I would kind of throw it out the window and then I do whatever I wanted. And then later I would feel guilty because see, I can't keep to a schedule and I'm so disorganized and I would beat myself up and I would feel terrible. And then I'd think this scheduling thing is for the birds and I'm not doing it anymore because it just makes me feel terrible. So one thing I found was to, instead of trying to schedule out hours and minutes and half hours or anything like that, is to think of your day in chunks of time. And this was something that kind of revolutionized my life because then I thought, okay, when is morning for me? When do I want to have lunch? And meals were a good anchor for me. And we talked about this in the last class, that anchoring your time against different things. But I said, okay, I'm not going to say when I have to get up in the morning, but if in the mornings before noon, there's this kind of thing I want to do. So I would make a little list of, okay, I know for sure I want my children to have clothing on by noon, right? I know I want them to have their hair brushed by noon. I know that I need to be dressed. I need to have certain things done. And so then I thought, okay, and then my afternoon chunk. What do I want to do in my afternoon chunk? Well, my afternoon chunk, that's when I would want to run errands, or that's when I would want to do a project with my child, or that's when I need to pick so-and-so up or take so-and-so to lessons. And then the last chunk was the evening chunk. And then for me, I kind of anchored that to when my husband got home from work as a stay-at-home mom. That was a good timing for me. So afternoon, I might say, okay, I want to at least get the living room to livable condition before my husband gets home. It was just a good goal. It wasn't anything he demanded of me or anything like that. It was just something I thought, that's a good goal for me. So then by evening, my evening chunk, I said, that's what I just want our family. That's our family time, whether that's doing a project together, whether it's helping kids with homework, whatever our evenings look like. Then I had in my mind kind of these chunks of time. Then I could make a list from there. And it wasn't super specific. It was just a few things that I wanted to accomplish in each of those chunks. So I would make a list for each of those chunks. And it actually really helped my kids and helped me with scheduling us as a family, because then I could say, oh, that's during our afternoon time, when they came and said, would you play this game with me or whatever? Because I knew I had things in the morning chunk that I was doing, things that belonged in the afternoon chunk, and things in the evening. And it helped kids because time and clocks just don't register with them. But I could say, oh, after lunch is when we do that. Oh, when after dad gets home is when we do that. So that was really helpful to me. Does anybody have any questions about the chunk of time, splitting your days into chunks of time? Oh, there's a cute little boy too. So is this something that you think could work for you? I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the cute kids. Go ahead, Whitney.
I was just going to say that I think when you were going over like the days and how you'd have a day for this, I was thinking I'd probably have a half day for that, because
Oh, yeah.
there's like more things. So I think when you talked about the chunks of time, that's when it kind of resonated with me, that I think that's what would work best.
Oh,
Kind
good.
of splitting those days. So yeah, I think it'll be helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, and that's true. It doesn't have to be a whole day. I like that. Okay. So some other tips that help me with my days, or that helped me now, that have helped me in the past. One thing that helps me now, regardless, because now I'm working and I'm also going to school full time, but I also, it worked really well for me when I was a stay-at-home mom. And now I want to give this a caveat, because when you're pregnant or when you have a little baby who is nursing every hour on the hour, whatever, and it's a little different. So I'm not saying everybody needs to do this, but whenever I do wake up, even just a half an hour before the rest of my family, I get a little bit of quiet just to pray, to meditate. Maybe I'll just do a quick little pickup. Maybe I'll just switch the laundry, even just some little thing. For example, the other night, our kitchen had gotten out of control. And with me not being home, it happens a lot more often. My husband is wonderful and he's being Mr. Mom right now, but all my children are assigned chores. And we're going to talk about this a little later, but I'm not always here to follow through with them and to make sure they do them. So the kitchen was a disaster. I had a lot on my mind. Everybody else had gone to bed. And I was just like, I'm going to take this opportunity. And I did the dishes. I actually cleaned the kitchen. It was such a disaster. I just did the dishes and just made it sparkle. And I needed it. I needed the little, see, you still can be, you're a good homemaker. It's still okay. You can still take care of your family, even if they never see you. It's fine. I got some quiet time. I got the satisfaction of I knew my kitchen was clean for hours because everyone was asleep. But I just took that time because I needed it. And I was able to get something accomplished. I was able to build my self-esteem by getting that done. And I just had that time. I was thinking about some things I had on my mind. I could work through those, and I wasn't bogged down with distractions. The house was quiet. It was dark. And I don't recommend this for everyone, especially if you have little ones that wake up super early. But for me, the other night, that was something I needed to do for my peace of mind. And when I get up early and it's still dark and my kids aren't up yet, I go in not everyone has an office, but I do, just so that I can close my door and do my homework, is I have my quiet time with God. And I can pray. I can look at my calendar for the day. I can write in my journal and just have, even if it's just a few minutes, it's kind of a recharge for myself. So that's one of my tips. The second tip I have is to delegate as much as possible. Now, when you have really small children, this is hard. It's hard, and it takes more time and it makes things more complex. Oh, the sunlight's coming through so pretty. But it is actually a necessary skill for our kids to learn how to take care of a house, to learn how to work, to learn that they contribute to the family. Now, this can happen even when they're small. I read an article I don't know if it was months or years ago, but it was about a study that some people had done on different societies and on how their children helped in the home. And one society seemed to stand out from others, and it was Mexico. In Mexico, older children would simply step in and help. They weren't assigned chores. They weren't asked or nagged to help. They knew that they contributed to the family, and they would sweep floors and they would wipe counters and they would just watch kids and just step in. So they wondered why that was and what was going on there. And in their study, they found that the mothers in Mexico, when their little itty bitty kids would come up, which if you have little kids, they think helping is the best thing ever. Mom, can I help? Can I do this? Can I do that? And you think, you're 3. I know what this is going to look like if I have you help me bake this or whatever. It's going to be more work. It's going to be more messy. You'll have a bigger mess to clean up after. It's going to be rough on your patience. But that was what they found, is those mothers in Mexico said, oh yeah, here, sweep the floor. Oh yeah, here, do this, here, do that. And they wouldn't just give them kind of a minute or two to just kind of make them feel like they're doing something. And then you say, okay, now go play. And then you kind of fix it and redo it yourself. They actually let them help. Now, this is hard. It's hard for me to do as well. But not only does this help you take a load off, although it can make extra work for you in the short term, but it also makes them feel like they are real contributing members of the family. And when they know how much they are needed, then they grow up automatically helping. And they grow up knowing that their work is necessary to make the family function well. That when we tell our children, no, I'll just do it, we are sending them a message that we don't need their help, or that they aren't contributing, that we don't really need them to contribute, that we'll just take care of it. And then later, that is so ingrained in their brains that they don't know how to help. Or if we ask them to help, they have an attitude. You don't really need me to help, or, oh, I don't want to do it. So it's hard in the short term, but in the long run, it's better to have our children contribute in our homes in a meaningful way, and that they know is a meaningful way. So in our home, our children clean, and they have zones that they are assigned, jobs that they are assigned. but they also cook most of the meals in our family. Now, my husband loves to cook. He's a good cook. And so he has made the menu, and he has started to assign himself a lot of evenings, a lot of meals throughout the week. But, and I cook maybe once a week because I'm gone so much, but most of my children cook. And it has helped our family so much because they're not waiting for me to come home from school and then cook a meal for everybody. They know that they are needed. And they also have the benefit of learning those skills. This last year, my 7-year-old has really wanted to learn to cook more. And so instead of sitting around and waiting and whining for her older siblings to cook her some lunch, she has learned, because we took the time, my husband actually took the time to teach her. And so she'll come and she'll say, can I make myself some ramen noodles? And so she is learning to use the stove, and it's been helpful for her. And she feels very proud of herself that she can do that, and she can take care of herself. And it's one less thing that we need to worry about. I know that she will be able to feed herself. So think about that. Now, this doesn't, again, don't let perfectionism take over here. Just see where they can help. I remember my mother would always give the littlest one in our family a wet rag when we were all doing the cleaning. And she'd say, okay, go wipe off all the doorknobs and the light switches. And they would take their little rag, and they were, they're 3 and they're wiping down, but they're contributing and they're helping. They're feeling part of the family. And it's actually something, how often do you want to do that? I don't like doing that very often, but if you have little kids, you know how sticky those things get. So it's a way you could give them a disinfecting wipe, and they could go around and just wipe off anything that they see is dirty. It's also good training for them to start to notice dirt, because if your kids are like mine, they don't see dirt. They don't see fingerprints. They don't notice it. So it's a good way to train. I remember my mom pointing out, see, look around the door and the door frame. Look at those fingerprints, and going, oh, I can wash this. Anyway, I'm spending too much time on that. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions about that whole concept of delegating?
I was just going to say that when I was a church meeting one time, and they said, lazy is the mom who does everything. And I think before I was a mom, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, that doesn't even make sense. But now you get it, because just like you were saying, it is so much harder to teach your kids to like load the dishwasher the right way, and rather than just quickly do it yourself. And so I think the concept and how that worked in Mexico was really cool.
Thank you for that comment. I know, and when you mentioned teaching your kids, I remember there have been several times, and I think I even did it not too long ago. Because I have a large family, I feel like I have 3 families, so I kind of have to start over and retrain the next batch. But I remember at one point, I was so tired of how my kids were overloading the dishwasher. Have you ever seen when someone does that? And it was just a mess, and so stuff wasn't getting cleaned. So I said, we are having a class today. I think it was a Saturday morning or something. And this is what time, everyone gather in the kitchen at this time. And so then I honestly walked through and said, and then we rinse this dish, and the plates go here, and see how there's space in between. And we make sure, and I went through the whole thing. I've done it with the bathroom too. Okay, today we are going to learn how to scrub the toilet to mother's standards. And, and this is usually with teenagers, I do this, but anyway, I realized, and actually it made a difference, and it was done differently the next time. We assume a lot of times that our kids know how to do things. I remember my mom would send my sister and I to go clean our room. It was a disaster. We honestly didn't know where to start. And I think, so if we look at that and go, maybe they don't know. We've learned through experience. Why don't we share that experience with them? And so that they know what is expected, and then they don't feel as overwhelmed. I really like that idea of teaching. Okay, I do want to make a note here. And this came up in our class on Wednesday night. We have a lot of working moms in that class. And one mother who owns her own bakery and is very busy, she said, I have a question. I feel really guilty, but my husband said because of how busy we are and things are working, that I should hire a cleaning lady. And I feel embarrassed. What do you think about this? And how should I feel about this? And the more I thought about it, and we talked about it in our class, is that it's just another delegation. You are not a failure if you need to have a cleaning lady come in once a month and make sure your baseboards are scrubbed. You know, maybe your 3-year-old's never going to be able to do that right now, or, you know, you don't have time to oversee that. It's okay. It's okay to delegate in that way also. And that brings me, this is called the Homemaker University course, but I hope that you think of this whole concept of your homemaking as home management. You are a manager over your home. You are not the sole employee, the sole worker, the sole maid, or whatever else. It is okay for you to do what you need to do when you need to do it. And if that means, one of the ladies in the class said, oh, I'm so glad. This other lady asked about it. She said, because there is a guy that comes and does my floors once a week. And she said she has a few children with special needs. She is constantly running kids to therapies and appointments. And she just needs her floors clean and knows that if that can be done, she won't feel like her house is a total disaster. That was her one thing. So she hired someone to do that one thing, and it has helped her to be able to do the other things she needs to do. So just keep that in mind, that delegation is not just your kids should be doing it all. Now, if you feel like that, I mean, it is good for kids to learn those things, but you need to do what is best for your family and what fits your needs. But please delegate. Don't feel like you have to do every little thing in order for your home to be a success. So I hope if you get nothing else from today's lesson that you get that. Okay, another tip that I do is to just plan ahead. Just think ahead. Oh, there's another cute little person. Hello. Is I like to check my calendar before I go to bed every night. And I know we talked about that in the last class about that can be part of your evening schedule. For me, I like to check my calendar and my menu. Then I just kind of have an idea before I go to bed of what tomorrow is. It's not that I have to try and get a bunch of stuff done to prepare for that the night before. It's just to get it in my mind. And I think that can be really helpful. I usually like to look at the menu just because one of the first things my children who awake in the morning ask me is, what's for breakfast? Now, you may just do cereal every day. We've done a variety of things. When I was more of a stay-at-home mom, we had bigger breakfasts. I always liked a bigger breakfast, and that was like what I planned, and then we'd have a small lunch or whatever. That's not the case now, although with kids cooking, that does help, but I kind of need to think through, who do I need to make sure is up first thing in the morning because they're on breakfast. So that helps. We will talk about meal and menu planning in a future class, so I won't go too far into that, but just having that menu plan helps me a lot. Okay, another tip is I like to do quick pickups throughout the day. Like I said earlier in the class, one of my goals, and it wasn't because my husband demanded it or because it wasn't expected of me or anything, it was just because I liked to have that kind of goal to have the living room clean before my husband got home. Because if you have children at home, you know, your house is never clean. Like it might be clean for about 5 minutes, right? Somebody's going to pull something out. Somebody's going to leave something out. It's just life. That's just life when you have children at home. But if you can do a quick pickup right before, and I would do it with my kids. Daddy's going to be home. Let's set the timer for 15 minutes and see how much we can clean up. Or you can make it a contest. Who can clean up more things in 15 minutes, and you will get to be first in the line for dinner, or whatever your reward might be. Like I talked about earlier, doing my dishes. Sometimes I like to stay up a little bit past my family, send everyone to bed, And then I can make some little corner or patch of order that I can go to bed and feel good about myself because there's some little thing that's done. Maybe all I did was just dust that bookcase that has been bugging me all week, but I haven't had time to dust. I could just go choo, 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 go to bed, right? It's also a way to show appreciation to our family, although kids don't think to say, Mother, thank you for the clean toilet that I can sit on every day. You know, they're not going to thank you for that, right? They're probably not going to thank you for doing the dishes. They're not going to thank you for dusting the bookcase or whatever else it is. But it's a way to kind of do a little secret act of service. Or maybe it's folding your husband's underwear and putting him in his drawer, you know, when he's not around, and he may never notice either. But I really like to do some little time where I can just tidy up a bit. It's like a win in my pocket. It's like another little boost to my self-esteem. It shouldn't be long. It shouldn't be big. Just set a timer for 15 minutes, involve your kids if you can, if you have children that you are home and you can involve, or just do it yourself, race against the timer. Maybe it's just cleaning up a cluttered desk or something, just tidying it up a bit. You know that you can do that in like 10 or 15 minutes or less. And so it gives you a little victory. So that's my last tip, is to do some quick pickups, whether it's in the middle of the day, beginning of the day, the end of the day, or right before someone comes home, or whatever else the goal might be. Maybe if you have little kids at home and you're going to put them in the van to go get the bigger kids in the afternoon, maybe that could be a goal. Oh, let's clean this up before so-and-so gets home. And, you know, that might be a little motivation. Oh, they'll be so surprised when they see that we cleaned this or whatever. Okay. So does anyone have any questions about any of those tips? All right. Or comments. I'm open to comments, or criticisms. I'm open.
I just wanted to say, when you were saying that, Amelia just said, Mom, let's do it. Let's hurry and clean up before Dad gets home.
Oh, I bet Amelia could do a good job. She's a good worker.
So thanks for inspiring her.
Ah, all right. All right. Your mom will report back next time, Amelia. Okay. You hold her to it. Okay. It's a deal. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again because I'm going to give you this week's assignment. It's not a super big deal. It's just kind of a little assignment. I need to see this. Okay. All right. Drum roll. It's not a big deal, but drum roll. Okay. This week, I would like you to make a weekly schedule. Now, like Whitney said, or if it's a time chunk type calendar for your days, one of those two things, make some kind of schedule that you think will serve your family and try it. And then come back next week and let me know if it helped, if it didn't, what you would change, what you wish you had done, or what went really well. Just think through that. And you can bring your finished assignment to next week's class. Now you can use the worksheet that I sent you and just have that for just brainstorming. Okay, you don't have to like show it and show me that you did it or anything like that. But that might give you some kind of framework to know and just to have in your mind what you usually do on Mondays. You know, maybe Monday, your kid always has this certain class or this thing due. And then that night you always want to do a family time together or something like that. Just get some ideas going, get your creative juices flowing, and bring your finished assignment to next week's class and we'll talk about it. And we'll talk about what worked for you and what didn't. Does anybody have any questions? Pretty straightforward. Okay. Well, we're going to end a little bit early unless anyone has any. The thing about this class and why the live class, I hope, is of benefit to you, is that you can comment or ask me any question you might have, or let me know what your needs are. If you need us to talk about something in a future class, or if you have some clarification you need for this class. So please feel free to ask me anything. Does anyone have any comments or questions before we end? All right. You ladies are easy. Okay, so my challenge to you is just to remember that the work you're doing in your homes is important, and that even if it seems thankless right now, or it seems overwhelming, or it seems like you're never going to be able to accomplish all that you want to, just keep in mind that God sees your sacrifices, that your family is functioning because of the sacrifices you're making, that you are doing better than you think you are, because you care about your family, because you care about your home, and you care about the people in it, and you want things to work well for them. That desire is enough. And just let that fuel anything else you do, and give yourself the grace that you deserve for your efforts, and allow yourself to, yes, make mistakes, but that every new day is a new day, that you have another chance to try again, and that you do not need to be perfect at this. If you are just improving at one tiny percentage a day, it's still improvement. And so aim for progress, not perfection. But also keep in mind, when you do get past your discouragement and get up and just do a little thing, even if it's just that 15 minutes timer, we are built to get endorphins when we accomplish little tasks. It's like a gift from heaven for us, that when we accomplish just a little thing, we get a little jolt of dopamine. And then if you've noticed, if you start on something, all of a sudden you have the energy or the impetus to keep going, or maybe do something else. Now, don't wear yourself out, but allow yourself to have those little victories. Give yourself a chance to have that 5-minute pickup or 10-minute pickup, and just give yourself the gift of a success every day. And you will be surprised at how much more encouraged you feel in your journey as a homemaker. So I'm going to challenge you to do that this week. Give yourself a victory, however, how small. Just give yourself something, and do a plan, some kind of plan for your week. This week is your assignment. Is everybody ready to do that this week? Awesome. Thank you so much for attending today. And I am loving this course. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this, because it helps remind me of what I need to do as well. So have a great day, and please let me know if you have any questions. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.